This is part 2 of surviving as an outspoken leftist teacher in a red state. Part 1 was about my privileged identities and leveraging the privilege that I have to say things that so many of my colleagues do not have the privilege of saying. Part 2 is about this: staying in my lane. I decided several years ago when I was blogging, and that was a very viable way to get my opinion out, that it was important to pick a lane and to stay in it. And that has served me very well. It served me well on Twitter, and now it serves me well with this video content on TikTok. And my lane is this: public education in general and public education policy, both at the state and federal level. The situation with the Oklahoma State Department of Education is that they do not employ me. They did not hire me, and they cannot fire me. They can revoke my teaching certification. And there has been times over the years when I was a little concerned that Ryan Walters may target me. But ultimately, because of my privileged identities, he did not. And here I am still teaching, and he is gone. I know there are a lot of teachers on TikTok that like to mix in the humor and mix in TikToks created with their students. This is a recipe for disaster for someone like me. I keep my advocacy separate from my teaching. I enter the classroom still as a leftist, but as a leftist who believes very strongly in my students' ability to form their own opinions, and I want them to do that. The times when I have received the most pushback and perhaps got into the most trouble was when I did involve my school. My former school I posted about one time and was picked up by libs of TikTok, and that's the only time. When I keep it general, when I keep it about state and federal policy, that doesn't serve the interest of someone like Ryan Walters or Raya Raychek. My employer is someone that I do not talk about. That's how I keep my job. As much as possible, I keep my school out of my advocacy work, and I do not talk about my employer, because when I start to get into those politics, that is quickly where my job becomes jeopardized. That's why I always introduce myself in interviews as a Central Oklahoma high school teacher. My advice to anyone doing this kind of work is to stay in their lane. Know what you can and cannot say, and say it very specifically, and say it about the people who do not directly write your paychecks.